well-known interior designer from Canada and a good friend of mine, Tracey Fines.
Tracey Fines has been a successful real estate investor for over 25 years. Not only does she flip properties for massive profits, she designs and builds luxury custom homes and develops land. Tracey is an experienced investor and builder, published interior designer, and she has won numerous awards for design. Tracey is an award-winning author and international speaker who has been featured in international publications and on television. Having a zest for life, a love of great design, and an enthusiasm for creating beauty, she will uplift and inspire you to take massive action in your life to achieve your goals. And she wants to help you do the same. Please welcome Tracey Fines.
All right, welcome. To today's presentation, I am going to be sharing with you how to structure the deal. Okay, really important stuff. My own tips and tricks when I'm working on negotiating a transaction. These are probably, for some of you listening, you will have never heard of this. Even if you're a real estate agent, sometimes you'll not really be familiar with these things. But like I promote and suggest, when you're a real estate investor, you really want to think outside the box. You want to be flexible in your thinking as well. And you want to always be growing, right? We're entrepreneurs. So in today's presentation, I'm going to talk about how to structure the deal to save you money. And also how to structure the deal so that you can, when you close on your property, you can start the job running, your renovation or your whatever you're going to do to that property, that the value add, you're going to be able to, start the project off and running right when you close. And also, it's also about how to save your cash flow, okay? Because cash in the business of fixing properties up for whatever your purpose is king. Okay, we definitely want to have cash. We don't want to give away our cash too much. We want to keep it close at hand wherever possible. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about are deposits. Okay, we're talking about when you make an offer. Let's say you find your ideal property. Okay, it's got all the right numbers, right? It's going to make you some money. You figured out how much it's going to cost to fix it, how much it's going to cost to carry it, and when you're going to sell it. And then you've got okay, this is going to make me some money, so this is a good one. So now you want to finesse that opportunity with a great deal, a great negotiation of the offer, of how you're going to and when you're going to and for how much you're going to take that property. So the first thing that is going to be something to discuss with your realtor, you may be a realtor yourself, or you may be working with a realtor, is the deposit structure. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, sometimes the real estate agent wants a bigger deposit than what we want to give. Okay, so the deposit is when you put a contract together, that's the consideration that you have to give to make the contract binding. A contract is not binding without that consideration, and that consideration in our case is a deposit, money down, down on the offer. It's not a down payment. Okay, don't get confused with deposits and down payments. Totally two different things. A deposit is money you put with the offer when you make an offer on a property. You don't own the property yet. Okay, it's just a deposit. So real estate agents, if they're involved in this process, sometimes they like to get anywhere from 5 to 10% of the actual price of that property in a deposit. Well, us as investors, that can be a lot of money. Okay, that can be, if I'm buying $1 million property, 10% is $100,000. That's a lot of cash for me to just put somewhere in a holding, in a hold account somewhere could be for a very long time as well, because I'm also going to share with you how I like to get long closings as well. So that's point number 2. We'll get to there in a minute. Tip number 1 is going to be the deposit. So we want to give as little upfront as possible. Now, in order to make a contract binding, you don't have to have a lot of money on that offer. You just need to have a little bit of money. In fact, you could potentially do it with $1. That makes a contract binding as long as you have what we call consideration that goes with that signed contract, right? The offer that you're making. You really don't need to have any more than $1 transferred into that deposit account holder, whoever that may be, maybe a lawyer's trust account or your real estate agent trust account. But we know that that is a weak contract. $1, literally with a signed offer is weak. Okay, it's not that it's not official. It is official and it is binding because contract law makes it binding, especially for as far as I'm aware, in every country, that will be a binding contract when you give you sign under seal that you want to buy that house or that property. In my area and in most places, $1 just won't be satisfactory to have that seller take that property off the market and basically wait for you to close. That's just not enough for them to get really motivated to stick with your offer. I mean, you could walk away, right? And then they have to sue you. And then, I mean, most likely, if you only have a small amount of money invested as the buyer into that deposit, you could easily walk away and the seller probably, they could sue you for that contract, but they probably won't. It's too much hassle. That's why the sellers want you to have a little more deposit into the agreement, the contract, so that you stick to your word. You stick to what you've agreed to in writing, okay, which is binding. So they generally want more than just $1. Now, you could do that. So keep in mind, as an investor, you're going to always ask the hard questions, right? Remember how I always say you've got to ask, and ask. So if you're not asking, you're not getting. I typically like to put a smaller deposit if, it's reasonable. And you will know in your market, or you will learn eventually to know in your market what you can do. In fact, if you're making an off-market deal, you could potentially just put down maybe $5,000 on that deposit. Now, in my area, if I say something like this to another real estate agent, they're going to be like, "You're crazy. You're nuts." Okay. And be prepared to be called that. Okay. It's not crazy. It's just asking the difficult questions and negotiating the best transaction that you can make. So don't be shy if you're doing this. If you're going to put an offer in on a property, you can do the standard fare, which is 5 to 10% of the value of the property. And your realtor will probably say that to you, but it's not a hard and fast rule. You do not have to do that. So in my market, that 5% is kind of something that is pretty standard. And most sellers, lawyers, and real estate agents in my market are all working with those kind of standard rules. Now, I'm a real estate investor and I'm thinking differently. So I am trying to avoid giving my cash away because remember, I'm also renovating properties. So I need cash along the way. I need my capital, right? Because I'm putting a lot of capital into projects. So if I give a big amount to just be held in trust for months and months before I close, I'm not being able to use that money. That money becomes dead to me, right? And that's not helpful for my other projects and properties that I may be working on, okay? So makes sense, right? So negotiate that deposit. Try and ask. Don't try and ask. Ask for less to give less. Try for, maybe 1%. Try for, and if that's not comfortable, maybe try for 2.5%. All right. These are options. Okay. In my world, sometimes because I'm in a seller's market right now, there's really no negotiation. When you're in a seller's market, it's really the seller that gets to decide. Well, you're giving me 5% or you're giving me 10 or whatever it is, because they have choices. But when you're in a buyer's market, the buyer has more choices. Okay, so always ask for a better situation for yourself. Okay, so that's enough about the deposit. Actually, no, that's not enough about the deposit. I have one more point about deposits. Here's the other thing that you as a real estate investor have to be conscious of. You are buying a property. If you're listening to me, you're buying something that needs work. And when a property needs work, sometimes you need time to get permits. Okay, you get not only drawings done if you need to get a permit, but you need to basically make those plans. And there's time involved in that. And so not only do I want to ask for a longer close, and that's my next topic of discussion, but sometimes I will give step deposits, okay, as I make my milestones of my permitting process. Or I'll give you an example. I was buying a property that I knew I wanted to divide and build 2 houses. And I knew that I was going to have several, permits that I would have to ask for. And I knew the process was going to take about a year. Now, to make that project the best for me as the investor, I wanted to get my permits before I actually owned the property. Okay. So what I wanted to do is I want to own the property when I'm ready to start the work. I don't want to take the ownership of the property while I'm getting permits. Why do you think I don't want the property to own the property while I'm getting permits? It's because I don't want to have to carry that property's mortgage, insurance, taxes, utilities, right? I don't want to carry that every month that I'm actually just doing the planning. I'm going to save myself thousands of dollars by not owning the property while I get a permit. Now, it's very important you write that into the offer, into the deal. You have to ask for a long close, and you have to have the seller's permission to get permits, because you're not the owner, right? You can see now there's several things that are overlapping here. My point was, first, I was talking about the deposits. So because I have a process and I know I need to have permits that are going to take about a year to get, I want to do a step deposit. So I don't want to give all the money up front because, again, cash is king and I don't want to give my money away. So I will give a small deposit with the offer. And I think in this case, this property cost about a $2 million property. And I paid $25,000 deposit right away with the offer. And then in the offer, I offered another $25,000 when I got the first series of permits. So when those permits came through, and I think it was committee of adjustment. So I had to go to a special committee of adjustment through the city to get a special permit. And it took quite a while, like about 6 months. And so if I was awarded that permit, I was going to pay another deposit, but I still wasn't closing at that point. So now they had $50,000 of mine. And then the next step would be getting a permit for tree removals. Okay. And then as long as I was allowed to get those tree removals, I would give them another $25,000 stepped deposit. And it's incentive, right? For them to understand that I'm still working away on this permitting process. I'm still keen, but I'm not giving all my cash away up front. So I ended up finally closing on that $2 million property with only a $75,000 total deposit, which is less than 5%. And I gave it little baby steps along the way. So a lot of it I kept, for over a year. That can save you a lot of money. Hey, hi, Tracey Fines here. And I'm so glad that you watched my video and my presentation because I love sharing what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and I want to help you do this too. So if this is interesting to you and you're excited to get involved in real estate investing, then click the link in the description below, and I invite you to join me at my live presentation where you can ask me questions and I can help you in the best way possible. So I look forward to sharing with you more at that presentation. See you then.